All right, so tell me a little bit about this home, Helen, and why we're looking at this home.
Well, I think this one is a really good demonstration of an existing property that's quite rentable. You know, you've got 3 bedrooms, you've got 2 living areas downstairs. It is a 10-year-old property, but the reality is it's been owner-occupied, so it's in really good condition. So it's what I would call a set and forget. You just put tenants in it and you can forget about them because the whole property is generally low maintenance. Internals have been well looked after, so there wouldn't be a lot of work involved from an investor's perspective.
And what are we looking at in terms of renting this sort of property out and the yield and that sort of thing?
Well, look, for this particular area, somewhere between 4 and 5% is really where you want to be. I'm not a big fan of 1 to 2% yields. I wouldn't really entertain that as an investor. There are too many other properties out there that could give you a better yield and just as good a capital growth. So why would you do that?
And one of the things I'd point out is when comparing property to the share market, you're talking about yield on the money plus what the bank's lent you, so it's the total amount, not just on your. So the ROI is actually much higher than 5%.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so tell me, as we're sort of out there researching properties, who are you going to be talking to and what sort of questions are you going to be asking them?
Well, look, as an investor, if I were interested in this particular property, the first point of call would be the property managers, because I want to know how much is it going to rent for and can they get tenants in there really quickly and easily, and is it the sort of property that's sought after by tenants?
And will they be honest with you?
Oh, look, you don't go to just one property manager, John, and at the end of the day, property managers don't have a vested interest in you buying this investment property. They're not receiving a commission or anything like that. So what they're trying to do is obviously generate or drum up new business, and hopefully that, they're hoping that you'll use their services. But I don't stop at 1 or 2. If there are 6 or 10 property managers in the area, I'll interview them all using one of our checklists. And then by the time I've interviewed them all, I actually find out I've got some really good data across that section of what tenants want.
Because they get talking and start to reveal
little
bits about the area and where they would buy.
Well, look, generally speaking, property managers are fairly honest. They don't want to have a property on their books that's high maintenance. Because for the little bit of money they receive each week, $20, $30, $40 that you pay them to manage it, they don't want to be spending hours and hours having to organise quotes, get maintenance people in, make sure they've done the job, then follow it up and, report back to you, provide photos. Great. All right, we'll wait for the plane. And there's a plane overhead. We're obviously in a flight path.
All right.
So I'll just go back to that.
So property managers are quite honest in their evaluation?
Yeah, pretty much, because what they care about is, they get paid $20, $30, $40 a week, whatever it might be. They don't want to be spending hours and hours having to look after your property, organise tradies, follow them up, get some quotes for you, make sure they've done the job, follow it up with photos and inspections and convincing the tenant. It's a lot of work for little money. So what they want are quality properties that don't require a lot of maintenance, so that way they earn their money hassle-free.
And it's going to be tenanted easily.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, fantastic. And what about real estate agents? What's your relationship with a real estate agent when you're looking at these areas?
Well, generally I like to get a few of them working for me, not just one. I kind of give them a list of what I'm looking for, whether I email it or fax it or whatever it might be, and I just send them out saying, look, this is what I'm after, bring me what you've got.
And do you find they're quite proactive in then phoning you and getting back to you with different properties?
Look, generally, there are some parts of Australia where it might be booming and it's really difficult to get agents to respond. But generally speaking, if you really sort of explain to them that you're in the market and you actually want to invest and buy multiple properties and all of that kind of thing, they are generally quite helpful because they find investors can be low maintenance compared to an owner-occupier who cares about the paint and all of that sort of thing.
Yeah. And while we're on the subject of real estate agents, obviously there's a bit of an adversarial relationship with a real estate agent in that they act for the vendor. Tell me about how you negotiate and what are some of the some knockout negotiating tips that you'd share?
Well, the reality is, once the vendor signs up that real estate agent...
They're not really adversarial.
Wait.
Okay.
The reality is, once the real estate agent has actually signed up that vendor, they then, even though they're acting for them, they really are now working for the buyer. So I need to educate the real estate agent to say, look, this is what I'm looking for. Quite often when I walk into real estate agents, I'll say, look, what are the big white elephants sitting on your books? what are the properties that have been sitting there forever and a day and you can't move, and just see whether I could negotiate, because obviously vendors might be desperate, or their properties might be in need of rejuvenation or something like that, whatever it might be. I try and look for the opportunity in between all of that.
They're going to be the undervalued properties where you might be able to find a motivated seller.
Quite often that's the case, so I tend to start with that.
Yeah, fantastic. So the trick to find undervalued properties is to work with the real estate agent.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're not going to be your bosom buddy, but you know, they are a member of your team and they can actually bring some really good deals for you. I mean, just recently I bought a property, had a bank valuation of $675,000. We bought it for $390,000. The real estate agent brought it to us.
Yes.
So, you know, those sorts of gems, you know, saved me hours and hours of looking and negotiating myself, whereas building that relationship with a real estate agent really kind of brought us a fantastic opportunity.
And the question is, where's the property that you can't sell? Where's the white elephant?
Yeah, exactly.
Beautiful.
Exactly.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, John.